Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna Nelson. I am the founder of Her AI Agency, and I focus particularly on helping female founders, small business owners adapt to the latest digital marketing, AI trends, things like that. The goal being to work smarter and not harder and utilize the best available tools that we have today. Today, we're going to be talking about Facebook visibility. A lot has changed in the past few months, and so we're going to kind of go over that both on their settings and then also in the algorithm. So we'll talk a bit about that and how those changes affect what you're doing. And then also what we'll talk about, this is the beginning of September. I'm going to do a really kind of broad overview today of what's changed and how to kind of make the best of everything that you have in your toolkit right now. And then each week through September, we're going to dive a little deeper. So we'll go deep into specific content types, like the thread style post or carousel posts, and get really specific on those types and how to optimize for them. So again, today, just kind of a general platform overview, what's working right now and how to kind of make the best of the platform right now. First up is what's changed. So there, obviously Meta is always throwing new features at us, changing things on it at us. So there's 4 things that have changed really specifically in the past few months that I want to call out. The first is that all videos are now reels. And what that means is it used to be there was like a specific time limit. I think it was 90 seconds at one point, and then I know Instagram has just gone to 3 minutes. But on Facebook in particular, all videos, even if they are an hour-long webinar, are now reels. So you're going to find those in the reels tab. And what this actually means is that everything is kind of shifting towards a recommendation driven discovery of your content. So you have a much better opportunity of reaching an audience that might not have seen your content before. You don't necessarily have to have people following you. Obviously you want that, you want to be recommended in those videos in the Reels tab. And so it doesn't have to be short snippets anymore. It can be longer form style videos. There's no specific time limit. So that's just something to be aware of. The other thing is that they have added a people first tab. It's called like friends tab. And so what you can do with that if you're a user is you can set it to that so that you don't get recommendations from other, content creators or businesses. You're not seeing promotional style posts. So you can do that on your own feed. And a lot of people are doing that. And the point of that is that if you want your followers, your audience to see your content more often, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have them add you to their favorites list. And so that's something to kind of call out in your posting throughout the month, maybe every couple of weeks, like, hey, don't forget to add me as a favorite or add our business as a favorite so that you don't kind of slip off their radar. Lives now expire. So live videos are one of the best ways to drive engagement on Facebook. But they expire after 30 days now. They used to live on the platform forever. Now you've got 30 days and then it goes away. So you want to take that content. Again, the actual live video is great for your visibility and getting in front of people. It pops up as a notification like this, person has just gone live. So you want that, but also you want to repurpose the reels as quickly as possible so you don't lose that live video content. And so that you can kind of snip it up into, kind of your higher impact pieces. And then native content wins. Links, and I think I've got data on this in here somewhere, links significantly underperform in your actual post. So there's a couple strategies there. You can put links in the comment. You can try, we're going to talk about the DM strategy here in a minute. But really, unless you have to, I really advise against putting a link in your actual content. It just basically throttles your reach really badly. So focus on content, focus on images, videos, and keep the links either in the comments or have them, do a specific action, DM something, message you, comment, anything like that is going to be better for your engagement. Okay, so how distribution works. And again, this is what's working right now today as of September of 2025. The first thing is stop the scroll. So obviously, we've all sat there on Facebook on our phones and, kind of just scrolled through, your goal with your content is to stop somebody in their tracks. That is the difference between reach and impressions. Reach is the amount of people that could see your content, and the impressions are the people that actually lingered on it long enough to interact with it, get something out of it. That's how Facebook calculates that. So most people at the, amount of time that it takes them to scroll is about 2 seconds. So you've got about 2 to 3 seconds at most to get somebody's attention and stop them on your post. Otherwise, they're going to keep scrolling. Do not lead with like your logo. Do not lead with like a 5-second overview. You need like a compelling hook. Question-based works really well. Something, true, false, that kind of stuff. Whatever you can do to hook them in that first 2 seconds. As far as engagement, which is really what Facebook is after more than anything. Not to say they don't care about how many followers you have, but what they want is people utilizing the platform. And so the amount of time you keep people on your content, whether they're reading through it, they're commenting, they're coming back to it, saving content, particularly on Instagram, is really powerful. It's a big engagement driver. So make sure that you are setting your content up to not just be like, here's my post, moving on. You want comments, you want people to save it, share it, that kind of stuff. Avoiding negative signals. There's a little button where you can like see less of this. If people are doing that to your content, if there's negative feedback in the comments, if it's kind of, you're getting like, this isn't true, or any kind of negative feedback is going to work against you. So be really careful about that. Obviously, we want to make sure we're posting valuable content anyway. So hopefully that's not happening to you, but know that if a lot of people are hiding your content, if it's too repetitive, if they don't like it, if there's no engagement and they're hiding that content, it's going to kind of throttle your entire reach. And then design your content for strangers. Don't assume that anybody reading your post knows you, knows anything about you, knows anything about what you do, because we are trying to reach a broader audience. We're trying to get recommended in the Reels tab or have our content surfaced to people that might be interested. You need to assume that they know nothing. So as much as it may feel repetitive, make sure you're putting that, kind of basic information in each post that's going to A, give them a little bit of background, and B, make them want to go to your page, read more, get more involved in what it is that you're posting. Okay, so a simple visibility system. So these are kind of the 5 things that create basically one framework for really solid visibility. Reels first videos, again, prioritizing hooks, pacing, clear on-screen promises, calls to actions. I am going to go more detailed into Reels on another session. So we'll talk about like what that pacing and all of that means. Reels are your friend. You want those to be a big part of your social media strategy. Repurposing fast. Again, go live. That's huge, but make sure you're repurposing that into Reels. And then teach natively. Use your content as your platform, not as your billboard. So use that to explain things, use that to educate your audience, to drive connection. But again, keep those links out of it, make it more content focused, and optimize all of your content to start a conversation. So you can always end your content with a, have you ever blank, or what are your thoughts? Something to spark that engagement. And then again, as the month goes on, as you're adding followers, make sure to, kind of frequently remind them to add you to that favorites tab, because it is more people are starting to find it. They're not being super public about that tab, but more people are finding it and using it. And so over time, we're going to see less engagement organically because of that. So that's kind of the system. Posting cadence. So you may hear, and it's entirely true, if you are a content creator, if you are trying to monetize Facebook, YouTube, something like that, the content need is really high. It's like 5 to 10 times a day. As a small business, not only do you not have that kind of time, you don't need that. In fact, you're going to irritate people. So I like, at least 5 days, Monday through Friday, and then maybe 1 on the weekend. You can adapt that to your audience if you know that, like, none of my audience uses Facebook during the week, but they're more active on the weekend, then maybe you adjust that. But typically the business week, Monday through Friday, is kind of where the sweet spot is. So the cadence I like are 3 reels a week, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a carousel, or those like text graphics. Like if you see you can put like the colored background and the text, those are text graphics, twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday. Thread style posts. And again, this is one I'm going to really dive into because this is a really big engagement driver right now. Those thread style posts, probably 1 a week. Any more than that, I think gets a little irritating to your audience. And then a live, if you can go live, even to say like, ask me anything, or let me answer questions about blank, some recent news, something like that, go live, and then clip that up for reels. And then outbound engagement. This is the one that a lot of people miss, and it's extremely important. You need to, with your page, your profile, whatever it is that you're trying to grow, you need to be engaging with your ideal audience, your followers, like, comment. And this isn't just, go on a liking spree or drop a fire emoji on every post. Try to add meaningful engagement. You want them to do the same on your page, right? So try to think about like, how can I add value to this post, this page, and then hope that they're going to do the same for you. Consistency beats bursts. If you go hard on Facebook for a week and then forget about it for 3 weeks, you're going to lose all of your momentum. So I'd rather you find a schedule that you can stick with and a cadence you can stick with, and then keep that up, versus being like, I'm going to drop all of my assets in 1 week and then let it go for weeks. That is going to ultimately penalize you in the long run. So this is a sample week, and I have this also in a download that I'll drop in the chat or send out as well. But this is kind of a sample week that is really meant to work in just about any niche. So the way I kind of set it up is a theme, kind of like I'm doing, this September with Facebook in general. Start on Monday with your big idea, your big theme announcement, something that sets the tone and gets interest. Do that on Monday, your 60 to 90-second reel. Then on Tuesday, something savable. A carousel is really great for that. Something that somebody's going to want to hang on to, that they might want to reference again. That's really great. Wednesday is great for those thread style posts, high engagement day. And number those thread posts. Again, I will go into more detail on those. Thread style, I'm talking about Facebook threads, not Threads, the Instagram product, but your hero caption, your hook, and then 1 to 5, maybe 7 numbered comments broken down into small snippets. That is really a powerful driver right now. And then Thursday, that's maybe your day to go live. Do that 10 to 15 minute live, and then clip that into 2 to 3 reels that you can repurpose over the next couple of weeks. And then Friday, a proof post. This is a great day for testimonials, or a before and after, or a case study, something to kind of prove everything you've just talked about earlier in that week. And so the goal here is like, take one core idea and stretch it over the week. That keeps you from spinning your wheels trying to come up with content. It reinforces the concept over time, which will have kind of the maximum engagement impact that we want here. Okay, and so these are the content types that I'm going to do upcoming deep dives on. We're going to do reels and how you can, create those effective hooks, how captions work. I see a lot of people being confused about where to put captions on reels because it cuts into the bottom third of your video. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about slide architecture for carousels, and then we'll talk about threads a lot and how to do those replies and the numbering chains, and what kind of the best practices are to get those seen. So we'll go over those in each of the next couple of weeks, really detailed. But those are, just to kind of go back to that, these are the most effective posting types right now. And so that's why I'm digging into each one specifically. These are kind of what you want to focus on. Engagement alliances. This is kind of an underutilized tactic. Some people use it really significantly and it works great. Find a little gang of people with shared audience interest. You don't want competitors, but somebody that's going to be in your world, but maybe does something slightly different. So if you are a veterinarian, maybe it's a dog groomer, something like that. And get together with them. You want between 5, 10, 15 people, probably 15's a lot. Let's call it like 5 to 10. Build a little small circle and work on collaborating with posts. You reshare one of their posts every couple of days and vice versa. You can now do collaborative posts. So I could post something and I could tag another business or another creator, and we could each kind of add our input. That's really powerful. Then you're reaching both audiences. And then cross posting, like you post something on their page maybe about their business and vice versa. Try to find a rhythm there with your little group and come up with a system where everybody shares one post a week, everybody does one collaborative post a week, and build up from there. But this is a great way to expand your reach, expand your audience, and you're getting free content out of the deal to post on your own page because you're not having to create it, somebody else is doing it for you. So obviously you don't want to be picking competitors, but someone in your world, a couple people in your world. It's great for backlinks. You can do that with blog posts as well, but it works really well on Facebook. All right, keyword comment. I'm sure you've seen these. This is really impactful for a few reasons. One, as we've talked about, the links aren't performing well, and engagement and comments are what Facebook's looking for. So asking somebody to comment something is really a good way to make your post more visible. So you can do that manually, obviously, but as your reach increases, as your volume of DMs starts increases, or your comments, that can get pretty difficult to keep up with. So if you see me do this, it's automated. I operate a white label of GHL called Brandwave, and we've got a workflow that listens to comments for a specific keyword that we've set up. I've got like 5 to 10 that I rotate through. And when somebody drops that in a comment, then they get an automatic DM with whatever I've promised, the playbook or the link or whatever. And so it's automated. I don't manually have to do it. It starts a chat flow in the DM. So if you do want to go back and engage, you can do that. The promised content, they're getting it immediately. They're not waiting on me to finish up at the dentist or pick my kids up from school. They're getting what they asked for immediately. And then on my CRM side, that contact's getting tagged, added to pipelines, sent, invites for future webinars, whatever might be appropriate based on, what it was that they asked for. Leverage this kind of automation as much as possible because it's good for the user, again, because they're getting the stuff they want right away, not waiting on you. And it's good for you because it's taking, work off of your plate. And then let's talk about measurement and how Facebook analytics work, what they're looking for, and what's kind of important to you. I always say, don't worry so much about the vanity metrics. It's not necessarily how many followers you have. I don't care if you have 3,000 followers if none of them are going to buy from you. That's not helpful. So for visibility, reach is kind of the number one that you want to pay attention to. Non-follower reach, and I bolded this for a reason. This is how you're bringing people in that aren't already familiar with you. So this is a really big deal. Reach is great. That indicates, all the people that are seeing your content, but I want to be reaching a new audience. So non-follower reach is really important. Average watch time, you want to make sure that people aren't dropping off your videos. Saves, again, the algorithm rewards you for people saving your content. And then meaningful comments. If your posts never have any comments, you're going to get dinged for that. So you want those meaningful comments, and you also just don't want people throwing an emoji in there all the time or liking it. You want meaningful engagement, and you want to respond to them. If they comment, respond back. That A, adds to the engagement, and B, it's a good way to engage. Demand is the next level. The amount of people that come to your profile, the amount of DMs you get, the number of booked calls that you might go get from a Facebook lead form. That's your demand window. And then the creative health. Again, you don't want drop off too many, and it happens, it's natural. But for your videos, if you're seeing really sharp drop off on all your videos, you're not hooking them quick enough or you're not delivering. So you want to change that. You obviously want to make sure you've got mostly positive comments, and that your share rate is good. When people share your post, it reaches a broader audience, and it also shows Facebook that you've produced something really valuable there. So my key indicator, what I kind of tell my clients is, if your non-follower reach and your watch time on Reels are increasing, the distribution strategy is working. That's what we want to be happening. Okay. And then I kind of compiled this like 14-day experiment because every audience is different. Just because this is the way the algorithm performs, maybe you've got a very specific audience that does things a little differently, and we need to know that. So what I want you to do is test it. So take two kind of similar posts, similar styles, and do one where you link in the actual post, and another where you link maybe in the comments or do the DM delivery that we just talked about. And then look at your metrics on that. Let both sit for a week or so and see, was the reach higher on one? Were there longer views on the video? Did you get more comments and engagement? And just kind of see which one performs better, and then keep that winning approach for like the next 90 days. I would say 90 days is about the algorithm cycle. So reevaluate. But this way, you're making sure that what you're putting out there is matching what your audience wants and also what the algorithm is favoring. So just test it, try one of each, let it sit for 1 to 2 weeks, and then see which one performs better. My best guess is that you will see a far better success metric on not putting the link in your caption, but it's worth a test. All right, and so then this is kind of just my preview of what we're going to talk about next week. So next week we're going to talk about Reels that retain, hook structures, pattern breaks, formulas, and where to put your captions, things like that, and what like average video retention should look like. Week 2, we're going to talk about those threads, how to do the numbering system, how to put stuff out there that people want to click into the contents without it feeling spammy, and then how to do that automated response management with the DM keywords. And then the last week of September, we'll talk about carousels and what the slide architecture should look like, what calls to action should look like, and where they should be in a carousel, and the type of carousels that convert the best. So we'll break down each one of those really specifically and get really granular on exactly what works. I'll try to provide templates for each of those and design ideas to make the best of each of those types of content, because that is really what's driving the engagement right now. So that is it for today. That is kind of the broad overview. And then again, we'll do Reels next week. We'll go in more in detail, but as always, happy to take any questions or review anything, any questions anyone may have about this, or really anything digital marketing, AI related. I'm happy to tell you what I know.